Hello and welcome to this demonstration of the SureWeb Performance Cloud interface. I'm Guillaume Boisvert, Product Manager, and during the next 20-30 minutes we will go from having no infrastructure at all at SureWeb to having a functioning infrastructure with network, servers, the whole shebang. I will take you through the process as you would see it as a user. The first step is to access our control panel. So to do this, simply load up performancecloud.sureweb.com in your favorite browser. Then simply put the username that was selected, most likely your email address. This is the main page of the SureWeb Performance Cloud control panel. As you can see, this is a brand new account. On the left, you can see the different items that you can create: virtual machine, networks, or backups. The My Account section is to see the details of your account, and we will not be covering it today. At the bottom is a very important part of the process, which is the New button. On the right, you can see a question mark. This question mark brings up the contextual help. Wherever you are in the control panel, you will get specific help that is related to what you're trying to create. The first thing that we will do is create a virtual machine. We will use the quick create to illustrate how easy it is. So simply select a name for your machine. This will be the host name. In the template drop box, select one of the many operating systems that the SureWeb Performance Cloud offers you. In this case, we will pick Windows Server 2012 R2. The last step is to select the password for the administrative account. The password needs to have a capital letter and a number. The control panel is completely asynchronous, meaning that while the machine is being created, as we can see here, I can do other things and continue to manage or create things in the control panel. If I want to know the progress of my task, I can simply click the moving bars at the bottom right, and I now see that it is creating a virtual machine called demo machine, and this green bar indicates the progress. While this is creating, which should take less than 5 minutes, I will go and create my first network. We at SureWeb decided not to put virtual machine directly on the internet and put them behind a gateway. This is a much more secure method of working and is much more in accordance to best practices. To create a network, I can go to network, or I can simply click new and select virtual networks. I will use the custom create wizard to illustrate how that works. So I simply give it a name. I identified what DNS server I want to use. I will use a free public DNS. You could also have your own, or you could use SureWeb DNS. If I want my machine that will be behind this gateway to have access to the internet, I will use nothing. I also have the ability to create a site-to-site VPN connection between this gateway and any other remote network that supports site-to-site VPNs. Since this is all virtual networking, my machine that are behind the gateway will need to have a local address. Due to virtualization, I have the ability to select any network that I want without any possibility of conflict. Even if you have two networks in your account that use the same IPs, there is no problem. For example, if I want to add another address space, I can use the very common 162.168.0, and there is no conflict. Let's go back to the virtual machine we were creating before. As you can see, it is now running, which means the creation was completed. I can also get a confirmation here, which shows that both my demo network and my demo machine have successfully been created. When accessing a virtual machine, there are two important panels. The first one is the dashboard. The dashboard will really provide you with information and status of your machine. For example, the first part shows the CPU percentage used, the memory used, the storage I/O, meaning the input-output transactions, and the network transactions. You can have that information for the last hour, the last day, or the last month. As we look a little further down, we have the configuration of this machine, which is the same as what the template was set to. I have the ability to change that configuration in just a moment. So for now, this machine is a 1-core, 1 gig of RAM, 40 gigs of storage virtual machine. You can also see that it is running. It doesn't have an IP address for now because I have not joined it to any network. It is Windows 2012 R2. The attached device is simply the OS drive. The second panel, which is just as important, is the configuration panel. If you want to change the configuration of a machine, be it CPU, RAM, storage, or networking, you have to first turn it off. I will now shut down my machine. Once it is shut down, I can now go to the Configure tab and pick a different configuration for this machine. Like I was saying, it is 1 CPU, 1 gig of RAM. Let's now change it to 2 CPU and 4 gigs of RAM and hit save and confirm. This only takes a few seconds. The configuration of my server is now changed. This 1 CPU, 1 gig of RAM machine is now a 2 CPU, 4 gig of RAM machine. It's as easy as that. Another thing that I can change quickly is changing the existing drive size. So I can see that my OS drive is currently 40 gigabytes. If I click on the device and I click expand, I can now change this to any other size that fits within my quotas. For example, I will now turn it into a 100 gigabyte drive and the operation is completed. If you want to add a drive, it's just as easy as clicking attach, selecting disk, giving it a name to the drive, picking one of our blank templates, and accepting. The system will now add a second drive to this machine. One thing to remember is that all those changes, you don't need to contact us to modify your contract or anything like that. Your billing is based on your consumption. So for whatever time you run, whatever configuration, this is what will be charged on your bill. When I'm done with this demo, I can simply delete the machine and I will no longer pay for it. I will only pay for the hours where it was on and it was being used. Now, as you can see, the addition of a second drive is now completed. I now have a second drive for 10 gigabytes. 10 gigabytes is not very useful, so I can also expand it and turn it into 110 gigabyte drive. I will go back to my dashboard, turn my machine back on, and as you can see, changing the configuration of a machine only took a few minutes. That is one of the main advantages of using the Azure Web Performance Cloud servers, is that instead of having to unrack, open, add physical memory, close it back down, turn it back on, you can do all this from the comfort of your home through this control panel in only a few minutes. As you can see, the machine is back on. It is now 2 core, 4 gigs of RAM, and 210 gigs of storage. This machine is not attached to any network. As you can see, it does not have an IP address. If you want to access your machine prior to putting it or connecting it to the internet, you can do it with the Azure Web Performance Cloud. You simply go to Connect, Console, and the system will automatically generate an RDP file that will allow you to connect to your machine. So if I open this connection file, this is now open a remote session to this new server that I just created. Even though it is not connected to the internet, the technology allows me to connect to it directly to our virtualization fabric. I can now log in using the password I selected before at the creation of the machine. And I am now sitting on the desktop of a brand new Windows server that I created just minutes ago through only a few clicks through a Performance Cloud dashboard. I am now free to select a role for this server or install any software that I desire. This remote access technology is available not just for Windows, but also for our Linux virtual machines. Accessing the machine remotely without an IP address is a neat feature and will be very useful to a lot of administrators. But at the end of the day, most likely, you will want to put this machine on a network. So to do that, I go back to the network that I created before. I want to add the machine to the demo network created here. This demo network, which also has a dashboard, is the one that will have an external IP address that I can access through my browser, through any other software. To associate this network is easy. I go back to my virtual machine, turn it off, and once that's completed, I simply go Attach, Network, select the network I created before, and click OK. After only a few seconds, my machine will now be attached to this particular virtual network. Once this is done, if I want to remotely access from the internet the computer, for example, let's say I had installed a web server on the machine, I would go in my network. So I select the network that I'm currently editing, and then rules. And I can now create a rule to give some traffic access to my server, but only the traffic that I so desire. Let's say this rule will be called HTTP because I will assign the port 80 to be forwarded to my demo machine. I could enter the IP address where I want to forward it, but this is much easier. I can simply select from the machines that I have created. and I want it to hit port 80 on the destination machine. Once this rule is created, which should only take a minute, any traffic that hits this public IP address of my network will be redirected to my demo machine that I created before. As you can see, we went from having no infrastructure to having a functioning web server behind a secure gateway in only a matter of minutes. If I wanted to add more machine, I would simply repeat the steps that we've seen today. I can obviously attach a number of machines to a single network, and then those machines will be able to talk to each other securely behind this gateway. I thank you for attending this demo today, and I hope that we will make the most of the Sure Web Performance Cloud. Please contact some of our representatives so that they can get you started today.